Imagine you are a young American soldier, and the Army hands you an address instead of a destination. P.O. Box 1142, Virginia. There is a real place under that mailbox, an old fort on the Potomac near the Capitol. Officially, nothing happens there. You never once say what you do, and your family never learns it. You are sworn to it. What you do is sit down across a table from German prisoners of war and ask them questions. One of the men who comes through that door commands a U-boat. You pour the coffee. You set out a chessboard, because the questioning is supposed to look like a game. And the Army picked you for the same reason you are standing in Virginia at all. You speak German like a native, because you were one. You were a Jewish child in Germany, and you got out. Some of the men in your chair lost entire families in the Holocaust. In that room, nobody lays a hand on anyone. Outside that room, in June of 1944, somebody does. That is coming. Start with the ground under your boots. The fort here is older than the war you are in. It went up as a coastal gun position during the war with Spain, on land cut out of George Washington's Mount Vernon estate, close enough to the Capitol for a staff car to make the run before lunch. In 1942, the first prisoners come through the gate. 2 secret programs run behind these fences, and only one of them is yours. The smaller one reaches Americans held in German camps and helps them get out. Down one road there is a warehouse where the packages for those men are put together. Yours is the bigger one. Yours is the prisoners who arrive here and sit down in front of you. The buildings have farm names. The camp commandant lives in the sugar mill. The men who break codes and write things up work in the creamery. From the road it sounds like a dairy. Then somebody tells you the other thing about the buildings. The microphones are everywhere. The wires run somewhere. Nobody tells you where they end. Now the men who do your job. 547 Army names sit on the official rosters of this program. And 68 of them, 12%, came out of the intelligence school at Camp Ritchie in Maryland. The other names on that list did not. Whatever the Army is buying in you does not come with a certificate. You were hand-picked for one thing. You speak fluent German. And you speak it because of what was done to your family. You were a Jewish child in Germany, and the uniform that made you leave is the uniform now coming through your gate. The language is only half of it. You know how these men were raised, and how they talk when they think they are among their own. There is a second reason your name is on that roster, and somebody wrote it down. Loyalty. Then they train you, and the training is not what you would guess. Nobody teaches you how to hurt a man. They teach you how to make him trust you. The whole method fits in 4 moves. Gain his confidence. Tell him the war is nearly over, and his side is losing, so he may as well cooperate. Play chess with him. Take him shopping. Shopping. A German prisoner of war, taken out of the fighting, brought across an ocean, walked into a store in Virginia. There is even a title for what you are, and it is not interrogator. You are a morale officer, and you are to put your questions under the friendly pretext of a chess game or a game of tennis. Now look at what a day here holds for him. The food is good, and there is plenty of it, and the sessions run loose, with tobacco and alcohol moving around the table. He keeps his own clothes, and he has the run of a swimming pool. There is soccer in the afternoon and a movie at night. Some evenings a prisoner is taken out to dinner in a civilian suit, and the 2 of you sit where the waiters can hear every word. A man important enough gets coffee and cake at a hotel table and a pleasant conversation to go with it. And there is a part of this you do not see from your chair. The men carrying the trays see it. The camp gives a prisoner whatever he asks for if it will get him talking. Liquor, women. You never learn what was arranged for the man opposite you the night before he sat down. Not every man asking questions here wears your uniform. The Navy runs interrogations on this ground beside the Army. Ask why the Navy wants a share of a prison camp in Virginia. Then look at who comes through the gate. One of them commands a U-boat. Everything on that list is a tool, and you are the one holding it. The good food is a tool. So is the cigarette you hand a man while you tell him his side is losing. And when the day ends and the trays go back to the kitchen, the compound where he sleeps is ringed by 2 fences with guards on them. Whatever a man is handed inside this place, the fences are the last word on what he cannot have. Tomorrow morning, one of them will sit down across the table from you, and you will pour him a cup of coffee, and the microphone in the wall will start listening. Now the room. The door opens and the man they bring in is wearing the uniform of Hitler's Navy, and the thing in your hand is a chess piece. Nothing in here is supposed to look like intelligence work, and that includes you. You are the friendly one. Everything the two of you say goes into a microphone in the wall, and in another building, men turn it into paper. So, where is the pressure? Every interrogation has a lever in it somewhere, and in this camp, the lever is not a fist. It is a map of Europe. You can offer to hand him east, to the Soviets, and let him work out for himself what that means. You pour the coffee with one hand, and you hold that over him with the other, and neither one leaves a mark. And that is where it stops. You do not keep him awake until he breaks. You do not put current through him or hold his head under water. Nobody in this building is humiliated or touched. You make his life easy, because a comfortable man relaxes and a relaxed man talks. You take his war apart in a battle of wits, and you go home at the end of it with your humanity intact. And think about what that costs you, specifically. You are the one who got out of Germany, and the man opposite you serves the country that made you run. You are not permitted to hate him out loud. You are required to be the best hour of his week. You pour, you listen, and every friendly thing you do is a hand going into his pockets. That is true, and it stays true for as long as the door of that room is closed, because the camp is bigger than the room. Outside your window, there is a compound ringed by 2 fences with guards on them, and above the wire, there is a tower with men in it. And then it is the 15th of June, 1944. The man is a U-boat commander named Werner Henke, and he is being held in the compound outside your window. It is daylight, not night, and he goes for the fence and starts to climb. The guards shout at him to stop. He does not stop. He is over the first fence and climbing the second. He is halfway up when a burst of gunfire erupts from the guard tower and kills him instantly. Instantly. Not wounded at the wire and carried to a bed. Not pulled down and asked what he thought he was doing. A burst from a tower, and it is over while he is still holding the wire. You are somewhere in this camp when it happens. And there is a reason he went up that wire. The story reaches you in more than one shape, and the shapes do not fit inside each other. In one shape it happens in a room like yours, in the middle of a session. You know what a session sounds like when the door opens and nobody knocked. A man in the uniform of a Canadian mounted policeman comes through it and demands that Henke be handed over to Canada. He is not a policeman. He is a civilian who works for Navy intelligence, wearing a costume. And Henke understands what going north means. He believes it is an automatic death sentence. In the other shape, there is no costume and no burst through a door. There is a threat, and the threat is Britain, extradition, and a show trial as a war criminal. And the belief that follows him out of this camp is that he chose the fence as a way to die. The 2 shapes name 2 different countries, and you will not be the one who settles that. What both of them agree on is the part that should stop your hand. The thing he was to be tried for was the shooting of men who survived the sinking of a ship called the Ceramic, and that accusation was false. There was no firm plan on the other side of the ocean to try him for anything. And here is what you never get to know sitting where you sit. You never learn the name of the man who put on the Canadian uniform. You never learn who told him to put it on. And you never see a piece of paper ordering him anywhere. Look at what that means, because it is the whole camp in one afternoon. Nobody hit him. Nobody kept him awake. Nobody put a hand on him. And every word said about this place afterward stays true. A costume is not a fist. A false accusation is not a beating. And a man went up a fence in daylight and came off it dead. The rule held. The rule was never the thing keeping him alive. There is a second thing wrong with this place, and it does not look anything like a man shot at a fence. It is made of paper, and it happens above your head, in the part of the camp that files things. A prisoner in American hands is supposed to be reported to the Red Cross. Men come through this gate and are not reported. A man is inside the wire of a country at war, and no outside body has been told that he exists. Years later, the people who dig this camp back up will look at that practice and reach for a careful phrase. Not exactly legal. So hold two things at once, because the camp held them at once. Inside the room, you lay no hand on anyone, and you can say at the end of it that you never compromised your humanity. Outside the room, at the wire, in daylight, the answer to a climbing man is a burst from a tower, and it is instant. The same fences hold both of those sentences. You will carry both of them home, and you will not be allowed to say either one out loud. The shooting stops in Europe in the spring, and the work here does not stop with it. Prisoners are still being counted through July of 1945. The war you enlisted for is finished, and you are still pouring coffee for Germans in a country at peace. How many men come through this camp in all? You never get to know that either. There is a count taken out of the files, 3,451, processed from 1942 through July of 1945, and there is a number read out in a hall of government long after you are old. Nearly 4,000 prisoners of war and scientists. Nearly 4,000, mostly German, is the other way it gets told. Those are not the same number, and you are not the man who gets to settle it. No one ever read you a total, and it was never your business to ask. You never had the list. You had a door, and one man at a time coming through it. Then 1946, and the machines come for the ground itself. The fences go, the pool goes, the sugar mill, the creamery, the warehouse with the packages in it, all of it goes into the dirt. The camp is bulldozed, and what is left is grass along a river close to the Capitol, on a piece of George Washington's old farm. You get a discharge and a train ticket, and you take the oath home with you. You were sworn never to divulge your role in this war. So your wife asks what you did in it, and you hand her something small and true and useless, and you keep handing it to her for the rest of her life. Your son asks, and gets the same. The war gets talked about everywhere for the rest of your life. There are parades, there are books, there are men at a counter telling their piece of it out loud, and you sit there with the best story in the room in your mouth, and you let it stay there. You are not the only one. The men who stood beside you at that gate keep it the same way, and many of them go to the end without telling their families. The last prisoners are counted in July of 1945. The recorder is running in the summer of 2008. Count the years between those two summers yourself. A man who served at this camp sits down in front of it and starts talking, and the story about him notes what number he is. He is interview number 40. How many of you get reached in the end? You never learn. And when somebody finally asks the question straight out, whether there was torture at this camp, listen to what a careful man puts in front of his answer. To our knowledge, no. There was no torture here. 3 words at the front. You know why he says it that way? You were there, and you could not swear to the room next to yours either. And here is the count nobody takes. Somebody counted the prisoners. 3,451 of them, through July of 1945. The most that gets written down about men like you is a word where a figure should be. A number of the interrogators were recent immigrants from Nazi Europe. Many of them were Jewish, and that was part of why they were picked. The army wrote down what you could do. Fluent German. So 2 sentences go into the ground with this camp, and neither one cancels the other. You sat with the men who took your country, and you beat them with courtesy, and you never touched one of them. A prisoner here went up a fence in daylight and a tower killed him instantly. Say them in either order. They both stay true, and nobody ever hands you a way to say them as one sentence. There is a microphone in the room again, and this time nobody hides it in a wall. It is pointed at you, and it is running, and somebody is finally waiting to hear you say it out loud. That is where the story stops. I step out of it. Somebody watching this had a grandfather who came home and never said. Give me the day he walked through your front door, his ship, his division, the plant he went back to. Think I got something wrong? Bring the page. I'll pin it. He was sworn. You are not.